You should compete for my attention like the girls at work do. That's what he said, straight-faced, like I was supposed to laugh or feel flattered. No joke, that was the moment I knew I was done. But let me back up for a second. 1 year ago, when I became the wallet, I'm Ava, 25. I live in Denver and work as a software engineer. I make good money. Like, can afford Tesla but drive a Honda kind of good. Not bragging, just setting the scene. I met Caleb, 28, in a machine learning class at UCLA. Smart, charming. You know those guys who always carry a moleskin and pretend to write poetry, but it's just pitch ideas. Yeah, that kind of smart. We dated through senior year, moved in together after graduation. Both landed solid jobs. He was in marketing for a tech company. I coded APIs. We had a good thing, or at least I thought we did. 2 years in, Caleb decides corporate life is suffocating his genius and quits to build a decentralized storytelling platform, some crypto-based startup no one asked for. He promised he had savings, a vision, 6 months, max, and we'll be flying private. Spoiler alert, he had zero savings, 3 PowerPoints, and a roommate named Chad who advised him for free beer. 6 months ago, when I paid his rent, and then some, things spiraled fast. He used whatever little money he had on some sketchy NFTs, hired his friends to freelance for him, read Hangout in his living room, and networked at bars. By month 4, rent was late. By month 5, he asked me for help. Now listen, I wasn't a sugar mama. I was a girlfriend who loved him. I believed in his dream, even when it looked like a dumpster fire with a Wix website. I told him I'd cover his rent until his platform launched. Hell, I even gave him money for groceries. And no, he didn't move in with me because his apartment was also his headquarters. That's how I ended up paying $1.600 a month for a place I didn't live in. Red flag, probably, but love is blind, and apparently also bad with money. Last week, the wake-up call I didn't ask for, so we hadn't seen each other in 5 days. Not because we were fighting, just because he was so busy launching this vaporware startup that had yet to see a single dollar of revenue. Texts were dry. Calls were rare. I decided to surprise him. Took a half day off work, grabbed his favorite overpriced coffee, and Ubered to his place. I had this dumb idea we could spend the evening watching a movie and maybe, I don't know, be a couple. Lana, one of his employees, opened the door. She's tall, hot, and always acts like I'm interrupting something just by existing. She gave me this look like I was the Amazon delivery guy showing up late. When I walked in, Caleb barely glanced up from his laptop. No hey babe, no smile, just didn't expect you today. Cool. I asked him if he could take the night off. Just a couple hours to breathe touch grass, be a human boyfriend. He said, sure, I'll wrap in 30. I should have left then. 30 minutes later, the final straw. Just when he was about to stand up, Lana walks over, all casual, and says something like, "You're the boss. You shouldn't leave before your team." Now, she was clearly joking. But here's where things turned sideways. Caleb smirked and goes, "Maybe if Ava wants my attention, she should compete like you girls do." I froze. Like, what? This man, who I had supported, who I paid rent for, who I defended when my friends said he's using you, actually told me to my face to compete for him. WTF? I grabbed my bag, no drama, no yelling, just looked him dead in the eye and said, "You know what? Enjoy your fans. Rent's due next week. Have fun figuring that out." He didn't follow me, just sat there, laughing with his little startup clique, like I was the intern fetching coffee. That night, I pulled the plug. I went home and emailed his landlord, told him I wouldn't be covering the lease anymore. Caleb's name wasn't even on the agreement I was the primary. Dumb. I know. Love does that. I also paused the shared debit card I'd been letting him use for essentials. No heads up, no drama. Just done. And oh, he noticed. Real fast. 2 days later, the fallout begins. The text came first. "Hey, why didn't rent go through? Landlord says he's filing notice." Then the calls, then the emails, then the guilt trips. I didn't respond. I was too tired, too angry, too done. Then the final message came in, "Can't believe you'd ruin my life like this." Oh, buddy, you did that all by yourself. 3 days after I pulled the plug, he showed up at my apartment. It was late, like way too late for a drop-in late. I'd just gotten out of the shower, wearing an old hoodie and socks with holes, trying to decide between leftover pasta or cereal for dinner. I wasn't expecting anyone. I wasn't ready for him. The knock was hard, aggressive. I froze, peeked through the peephole, and yep, there he was, Caleb, standing there like nothing was wrong, like we didn't just have a full-blown emotional breakup via eviction. I didn't open the door all the way, just the security latch. "Why the hell haven't you been answering me?" he demanded. No hello, no apology, no hey, I messed up. Just straight into entitlement mode. "I have nothing to say to you," I replied, voice flat. "You cut off my rent. You didn't even warn me. You're acting like a F asterisk kicking child." I laughed, actually laughed out loud. "You seriously think I owe you an explanation after everything?" He got this wild look in his eyes, like the calm, smug version of Caleb had been replaced by a glitching NPC. He tried pushing the door. I held it steady with my foot. "You told me to compete for your attention," I said, low and cold. "Well, I didn't. I walked. That's the choice you handed me." He slammed his hand on the doorframe. I was joking. "You always take everything so seriously." "You humiliated me. In front of your little fake company, after I paid your damn bills for almost a year, because I needed help." "No, you needed a damn wake-up call," I snapped, "and this is it." Then he reached, tried grabbing the latch to unlatch it. That's when my hand started shaking, and I realized I was scared, like actually scared for the first time ever around him. "I called 911, I lied. But I was already holding my phone. "You're insane," he muttered, stepping back. "You seriously gonna throw away 4 years like this?" "No, Caleb," I said. "You did." He stood there for another 15 seconds, breathing heavy, like he wanted to say more but couldn't form a sentence. Then finally turned and stormed down the hall. I waited by the door, phone still in hand, legs like jelly. I didn't move until I saw his car pull away. And then I cried. Not a cute cry. Not the movie kind where a single tear rolls down your cheek. This was the ugly knees-to-floor kind. The "I can't believe I stayed this long" kind. 4 years. I gave him 4 goddamn years. And in the end, I was just the rent, the Wi-Fi, the fallback plan. The next morning, I called work and took a mental health day. I didn't even pretend to be sick. Just told my manager I had a situation and needed space. She said okay, which made me cry again, because apparently basic kindness breaks you when you're emotionally fried. I went to Target, bought pepper spray and one of those keychain alarms that makes a sound like the gates of hell opening. I changed the locks, texted my landlord to let him know not to let Caleb into the building if he came by. I wanted to feel in control again, but the truth is, I was on edge every single moment. My phone buzzed constantly. I kept it on Do Not Disturb, only checking messages in short bursts. Missed calls, voicemails, new numbers, unknown numbers. Some were guilt-trippy. "I can't believe you're ghosting me like this." Others were manipulative. "I'm literally homeless right now. Thanks for nothing." A few tried the sweet route. "I miss you. I was just stressed. You're the best thing in my life." Then one just said, "You'll regret this." And that one made my stomach drop. I showed it to my best friend Mia, who's basically my emergency contact and part-time therapist. Okay, that's unhinged. She said, "You need to document everything. Screenshot all of it." We set up a folder in my phone, labeled it just in case. The thing is, I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted peace. I wanted him to disappear, to let me move on. I wanted to feel safe in my damn home again. But no. Caleb wasn't done. A week later, Mia and I were coming out of Trader Joe's, arms full of oat milk and overpriced cheese, and I saw him across the parking lot, just sitting in his car, engine off, windows up, watching. I didn't say anything, just froze. Mia looked at me, then followed my eyes. Holy **t, she whispered. He's stalking you. I wanted to deny it, say maybe it was a coincidence, but it wasn't the first time. A few days before that, I thought I saw him near my office. Same hoodie, same walk. I brushed it off. Now, it wasn't paranoia, it was real. I dropped the groceries in the back seat and slammed the door harder than I meant to. Caleb didn't move, didn't wave, just stared. I made Mia drive us to her place. I didn't go home that night. That weekend, we put a plan together. She started walking me to my car every morning. I started tracking my commute. We checked for air tags on my car. Nothing but still. Then we caught him again, this time near my gym, sitting in the park across the street, pretending to be on his phone. I snapped a photo. He saw me, got up, started walking over. Mia was there again. She didn't say a word, just pulled out her phone and hit record. And this time, I didn't run. I met him halfway. Why are you following me? I asked, loud enough for people to hear. I'm not. What are you talking about? He stammered. You've been showing up everywhere I go. My job, my gym, the grocery store. Do you think I don't notice? He looked like a deer in headlights. Then get this, he started crying. Real tears. I miss you, Ava. I messed up. I was so stupid. I didn't know how to fix it. I don't want to lose you. I stood there, watching him break down. And for a second, one stupid second, I almost felt bad. Then I remembered that night at the door, the way he tried to force it open, the way he told me I was being a child, the way I bankrolled his lifestyle while he flirted with girls in front of me. You did lose me, I said. He reached out like he wanted to hug me. Mia stepped in between us. Try it, she said, deadpan. He backed up. I'll stop. Okay, he said, sniffling. Just don't file anything. Don't make it worse. I didn't answer, just walked away, but I'd already made up my mind. This wasn't love, this was obsession. I had to end it legally. The restraining order took 2 weeks. Police reports, message logs, video, photos, sworn statements. I went through it all. It was exhausting, embarrassing. It made me feel like the crazy one. But I wasn't. I was doing what I had to do to be safe. He was served at his apartment what was left of it. Word is, he got kicked out after missing 2 months' rent. I didn't care. That was his problem now. I changed my number, changed gyms, got a new lock system installed. The restraining order went through. I blocked everything. Every account, every backup email, every burner number. He hasn't contacted me since... Not directly, anyway. But sometimes, I still feel like he's there. At the corner of my eye, in the background of a crowd. Paranoia, maybe, but I trust my gut now, always. Because the last time I didn't, I paid for it. With my heart, my money, my peace. Not anymore. About a week after the restraining order was granted, I started breathing normally again. Not in a metaphorical, life-affirming way. I mean literally like... I could fall asleep without clutching a baseball bat or checking the front door 3 times. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I didn't scan every black SUV like it might be him. It wasn't peace exactly, but it was quieter. I'd taken so many hits in the past few months. I didn't even realize how deep I was until the noise finally died down. And then something strange happened. I got angry. Not the kind of anger that burns out quick. I'm talking the slow, sharp kind. The one that settles in your bones. That makes you think clearly for the first time in ages. I started remembering all the things I'd ignored. All the signs I had buried under loyalty. Like how he always forgot to Venmo me his half for groceries, and I'd just pick up the tab because I didn't want to argue. How I'd book our weekend trips. And he'd promise to pay me back and then magically lose his card. How he would twist it into, you make more than me anyway. Like that made it okay. It wasn't just rent. It wasn't just time. It was dignity. He chipped away at mine every damn day, and I let him. That's the part that stung. So I did something I hadn't done in months. I pulled out my laptop and started digging. You remember his little crypto startup? Yeah, that thing. Turns out, even failed entrepreneurs leave a digital trail. He had registered an LLC 6 months ago. I found the website still half finished, still plastered with coming soon banners and stock photos of diverse people laughing at laptops. But here's the kicker, I was still listed on it. My name as strategic partner, my old email, my LinkedIn, even a paragraph he'd written about how her contributions make this platform possible. And that lit a fuse. I never signed off on that. I never agreed to be part of it. And yet, there I was, propping up his fake business credibility like a trophy girlfriend who also happened to code and pay his rent. Screw that. So I called a lawyer. It wasn't even about lawsuits or drama. I just wanted distance. I wanted to scrub my name off his scammy vapor dream. My lawyer looked into it and said something that made me sit up straight. You know, technically, if he claimed you as a partner and used your financial contributions, you might have grounds to assert co-ownership. I blinked. Like, legally? He nodded. If your money supported the venture, and he listed you as a strategic contributor, there's precedent. Now, I didn't care about owning a garbage fire of a startup, but what I did care about was the leverage. So I told him to proceed, not with full-blown litigation, just a formal cease and desist, asset review, and record request. Basically lawyer speak for, I know what you did and I'm watching. 2 days later, I got an email from Caleb. Subject, why are you doing this to me? No greeting, just a rant. You're tanking everything I've built. This is low, even for you. I thought we had history. You want me to lose everything over a website that's not even live yet. No apology, no admission, just panic. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer. He said, let him sweat. And sweat he did. Within a week, the site was down. The LLC was frozen. His investor pitch decks, which, by the way, were all over Google Drive with my name on the cover, quietly disappeared. The last thing my lawyer told me was that the state had flagged his incorporation paperwork for potential misrepresentation. Oops. Now, I'm not saying I set out to ruin his little empire, but I did press a few buttons, ones I didn't even know I had access to, until I stopped being scared and started being mad. Meanwhile, life got better. I started going back to yoga. Real yoga. Not the wine and wine sessions I used to do while pretending I wasn't worried about money. I joined a local co-working space, made new friends. One of them, Harper, ran a Women in Tech podcast and asked if I wanted to be a guest. Talk about what I asked. Whatever you want, she said. Honestly, just how you survived being a tech-savvy girlfriend to a crypto bro. I laughed. Then I paused. Then I said yes. The episode dropped a month later. We called it Emotional Labor and Unpaid Invoices. I told the story. Not everything, but enough. Enough to resonate. Enough to draw blood. I didn't name him. I didn't need to. The story spoke for itself. It went viral well. Semi-viral. Got passed around Reddit. Picked up by a few tech blogs. A VC in San Francisco reposted it with a comment like, "This is why we vet founders thoroughly." My DMs were a mess for a week. Women I didn't know sent me messages like, "Thank you for saying what I couldn't." This hit way too close. I paid for my ex's bar exam and he ghosted me. I'm still recovering. Apparently, there's an army of us. Bankroll girlfriends, passion project wives, emotional laborers of broken dreamers. We're everywhere. A month after the episode aired, Mia and I went out for drinks to celebrate. She raised her glass and said, "To karma, and finally choosing yourself." I clinked mine against hers and said, "To never dating anyone who uses disruption in a sentence again." We laughed. I thought that would be the end of it. But karma wasn't done. One morning, I got an Instagram message from Lana, the girl from the startup. I hadn't heard from her since the day she gave me that smug look at the door. It was short. Just wanted to say you were right. I didn't see it back then, but you were. I didn't reply. What was there to say? She jumped off a sinking ship just like the rest of them. And maybe, for a while, she had believed in Caleb's charm, too. But charm runs out. Especially when it's funded by someone else's credit card. Somewhere along the way, I stopped checking over my shoulder. I didn't realize it had happened until I found myself walking alone, earbuds in, feeling okay. Not whole, not healed, just okay. I'd moved apartments, got a dog, joined a coding mentorship program for high school girls, started sleeping again. I even started dating slowly, cautiously. And not the type that talks about building empires or has an NFT as their lock screen. This time I look for guys who ask about my day and actually listen when I answer. Small things. The kind you forget to want when you're used to carrying everything. One night, I found an old photo on my phone. From 2 years ago, Caleb and I at the beach. I was smiling. He wasn't even looking at the camera, just off in the distance, thinking about his next big pitch. I almost deleted it, but then I didn't. I made it black and white, saved it in a folder called Lessons, because I don't regret loving him. But I'll never forget how much it cost me to stop. It's weird how healing never shows up the way you expect it to. I always thought it'd be this big movie moment, like I'd wake up one morning and suddenly be free, confident, reborn or whatever. Cue the music, roll credits. Nope. Real healing. It's boring. It's slow. It shows up in crumbs. Like not checking your phone first thing in the morning. Like going a full day without saying his name out loud. Like realizing your favorite playlist doesn't remind you of anyone anymore, just you. That's what started happening. Little things. Quiet wins. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't just surviving. I was coming back to myself. I started spending more time with people who made me laugh without making me feel small. I hosted a game night in my new apartment and didn't care that we played on a rug because I didn't have furniture yet. Nobody cared. That was the best part. Mia came over once a week. We drank boxed wine and built IKEA shelves and made fun of our exes. She kept calling the bedroom my personal freedom dojo. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. I felt safe there. That feeling had been gone for so long. I forgot what it felt like. About 3 months into this new life, I got an unexpected email. Subject line request for comment. Tech Truth Weekly. At first, I thought it was spam, but when I opened it, it was a legit journalist. She was doing a piece on failed tech startups that relied on personal relationships to launch. She mentioned she'd listened to the podcast episode I did. Then she dropped the bomb. She was writing a section on Caleb. Apparently, a few ex-freelancers from his company had reached out to her after hearing my story. They'd never been paid, said he ghosted them when they asked for contracts. One of them even tried to take him to small claims court. She asked if I wanted to give a statement. I just stared at the screen. Part of me was like, oh, hell yes, let's finish this man off. But another part of me hesitated. I'd already walked away. I was rebuilding. Do I really want to get dragged back into his mess? So I sat with it. Then I replied, I don't want revenge, but I do want accountability. You can quote me, just keep my last name out of it. She thanked me, said she'd send a draft before it published. And then, about 2 weeks later, I saw it. The article was called Crypto Boyfriend, the New Breed of Burnout Bros. It was brutal. Anonymous sources, text receipts, audio clips. The part that hit hardest was a section from one of his old friends, a guy named Evan, who I'd met once at a startup event. He said Caleb used my name, my job, even my LinkedIn creds to impress potential investors. He told people Ava was coding the back end. The quote read, but she was never in the room. She was just the wallet. Ooh! I mean, it wasn't news to me, but reading it in print, seeing it laid bare like that. It was like someone else telling my truth back to me. And weirdly, it felt good. Not in a vindictive way, just validating. People knew now. Not just friends, not just Mia, the internet. I didn't have to prove it anymore. I thought that would be the end of the story. But no, there's always an epilogue. One evening I was walking home from the train station, earbuds in, groceries in hand, when I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Just one sentence. Hope you're proud. I stopped walking, heart racing, that old feeling creeping up again, dread, adrenaline, paranoia. But this time, instead of freezing, I took a screenshot and forwarded it to my lawyer. Then I blocked the number. 10 minutes later, I got another message, different number. You ruined my life for clout. Blocked. Another one. I lost everything. Blocked. And then I sat down on a bench, looked at the bag of frozen dumplings in my hand, and just laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of the absurdity of it all. This man had the audacity to still act like I wrecked his life. Like he wasn't the one who built it on my back. Like he didn't light the match and hand me the gasoline. Screw that. I got up, walked home, microwaved those dumplings, poured a glass of wine, and turned off my phone. I slept fine that night. A few days later, Mia sent me a link to a Reddit thread. It was from RR Startups, someone anonymously asking for advice about a founder who faked partner credentials and misused investor intros from a podcast story gone viral. The comments were wild. One said, "This sounds like that crypto boyfriend article." Another replied, "Yeah, same vibe. Scammy dude. Used his ex to bootstrap his ego. Seen it too many times." Somewhere. Caleb was definitely reading it too. Probably smashing his keyboard, thinking about how I destroyed him, when really, all I did was stop protecting him. All I did was walk away. About a month after that, I got one final message. This time, it came through an old email I'd forgotten to deactivate. The one linked to our shared calendar from when we used to schedule things like rent reminders and grocery runs. Subject closure. I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. The email was long, like painfully long, rambling paragraphs about how he didn't realize what he had, how he was spiraling, how his friends had stopped answering his calls, how his family had cut him off after the podcast and the article. And then, in the middle of it all, he said something that hit different. I think I was in love with the idea of you more than the actual you. I needed you to believe in me because I didn't know how to believe in myself. There it was. The most honest thing he'd ever said. It didn't make me feel better or worse. It just was. I didn't reply. Just archived the message and logged out of the account for good. That chapter was over. The thing is, people think revenge is loud. They think it's screaming, slashing tires, setting fire to someone's stuff. But real revenge. It's healing so much they don't recognize you anymore. It's laughing again, sleeping through the night, dating someone who doesn't talk in pitch decks. It's realizing you were never crazy, just underappreciated and overextended. It's walking past your old life like it's a stranger in line for coffee and not even blinking. And maybe, if you're lucky, it's having someone who once made you feel small watch from the sidelines as you build something better without them. Not out of spite, but out of love for yourself. That's the kind of revenge that sticks. The kind that doesn't burn bridges, it just outgrows them. There's a weird emptiness that comes after closure. Like, you fight so hard to survive something, you build defenses, draw boundaries, rehearse comebacks in your head, prep for the worst. And then one day, there's nothing to fight anymore. It's over. And you're left sitting in your new life, surrounded by calm, wondering, now what? That's where I was. Still waking up at 6:45 every day, even on weekends. Still checking windows before bed out of habit. Still expecting something, a message, a pop-up, a problem. But none came. And slowly, That tension eased. I stopped preparing for war. Around this time, I went to visit my parents for a weekend. They live about 2 hours out small town, slower pace. The kind of place where the grocery store still has a community bulletin board, and everyone waves when you drive by. My mom hugged me tighter than usual when I walked in. She didn't say anything, just held me. She's like that, emotionally intuitive in the quietest way. Dad made his classic Saturday breakfast bacon, waffles, orange juice, and chipped mugs. I sat there in the kitchen, sunlight pouring through the windows, and felt weirdly human again. Not the Ava who was constantly holding her breath, just me. My mom eventually asked if I wanted to talk about everything, and I said no, not because I was hiding anything, I just didn't need to explain it anymore. She nodded like she understood. That weekend reminded me who I was before I became someone's emotional safety net, before I started pouring myself out to fill another person's void. I left feeling lighter. And then something unexpected happened. A few days after I got back, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in over a year. Eli. He was a friend of Caleb's, they'd worked together on a freelance thing ages ago. I always liked Eli. He was quiet, smart, never got caught up in the bro startup energy Caleb tried to project. We bumped into each other at a bookstore downtown. He was holding a copy of Atomic Habits, and I was grabbing overpriced candles I didn't need. I almost walked right past him, but he saw me first. Ava. I looked up. Oh, hey. He gave me a soft smile, the kind that isn't forced. Been a while. Yeah, I said, awkwardly, like a year. At least, he said, then added, I heard about, well, everything. Of course he had. The article, the podcast, that story had legs. I braced myself for judgment, or maybe pity. But he just nodded, almost like he was waiting to see how I felt. I'm okay now. I said, it was a lot, but I'm good. That's good to hear, he said. And then, without skipping a beat, you deserved better, for what it's worth. It hit harder than I expected. Not the words, but how genuine they sounded. No performative sympathy, no fake concern. Just a simple statement that landed like a quiet truth. Thanks, I said, and meant it. We talked for a few more minutes. He asked what I was working on. I told him about mentoring, about slowly picking up freelance again on the side. He told me he'd started his own design firm, just him and 2 friends, fully bootstrapped, no crypto nonsense, no fake titles. It was refreshing. Right before we parted ways, he paused. I always thought you were the smartest person in those rooms, he said. Glad you're finally getting credit without being in someone's shadow. I smiled. And for once, I didn't feel small when someone gave me a compliment. I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything for being seen. That night, I made a playlist called Coming Back to Me and let it run while I cleaned the apartment. Nothing dramatic, just folded laundry, lit a candle, made tea. But there was this one song, slow, moody. Lots of piano and something about it hit deep, not in a sad way, just in a this is who I was before everything broke kind of way. I found myself standing in the middle of my living room, arms crossed, eyes closed, just breathing. And I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was free, not because I'd won, not because he'd lost, just because I'd finally stopped tying my worth to someone else's potential. A week later, I got a random package at my work address. No name, no note. Inside was a hardcover journal, plain black, clean pages. Tucked in the front was a folded post-it with one sentence, "Hope you start something new." That was it. I don't know if it was from Eli, or Mia, or my mom, or some cosmic stranger who just knew I needed it. But I started writing in it that night. Nothing fancy, just thoughts, fragments, things I didn't want to post online or say out loud. I wrote about fear, about how long it lingers after the damage is done, about how I still catch myself apologizing too much, or shrinking in rooms where I should stand tall, about how easy it is to let someone else's ambition devour your own. And then one night, I wrote this. I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped lighting the way for people who never intended to cross it. It wasn't a quote I read somewhere. It was just mine. I stared at it for a while. And then I wrote it again, this time slower. I don't know what it means yet. But it feels important. A few days after that, Mia and I went to a local women in tech mixer. Not my usual scene, lots of suits, stiff wine, forced small talk. But then a panel started. One of the speakers was this badass founder who built a SaaS company out of her garage and now mentors women trying to break into product design. She started telling her story. Early days, self-doubt. Dating someone who didn't believe in her code until other people started investing in it. I felt myself straighten in my seat. At one point, she said, "If you're constantly the one holding the flashlight, ask yourself why they never learned to walk in the dark." I could have screamed. That sentence slapped harder than any breakup ever did. I looked over at Mia. She was already looking at me, smirking. Later that night, I posted it anonymously to Reddit. Just that quote. Within hours, it exploded. DMs, comments, reposts. Apparently, the flashlight metaphor hit home for a lot of people. And for once, I wasn't afraid of being seen. I was proud. I didn't think I needed closure, but maybe that's not true. Maybe I just didn't need it to come from him. Because the real closure, it was already happening. Slowly. Every time I said no to something I would have said yes to before. Every time I laughed and didn't feel guilty. Every time I prioritized myself without apologizing for it. That was it. Not dramatic, not loud. Just consistent, like water smoothing out stone. And now, when I look at the version of myself from a year ago, that tired, hopeful, anxious girl who thought she had to be useful to be loved, I want to hug her. I want to tell her, you don't owe anyone your peace just because they're struggling to find their own. And maybe I can't go back and tell her, but I can live like she finally believes it. And for me, that's enough.